Well now, howdy my fellow farmers. Tell me this, if a nuclear bomb went off and the fallout was raining down on your fields, how many calories would a carrot hold? What would be the market price for a purple rabbit soul? And what incarnation would you do if the ground swallowed you whole and spat you back onto a small plot where the sun up yonder fires off nothing but ballistic death rays at you? Weirdly specific, I know, but that's just another normal day in this little obsession of mine. As for the answers, 20 billion calories, $10, and a high-velocity tractor nuke. What is Atomicrops? You've got games like Enter the Gungeon, Binding of Isaac, and Nuclear Throne. But if you put aside the dead babies, shotgun shells that shoot shotgun pellets, and the unending gluttony for rats, Atomicrops might just be the most underappreciated roguelite I've ever played. When I describe Atomicrops to people, the most common responses are, "Who are you?" and "How did you get in my house?" Very good questions. But that's not the point. It's a schizophrenic fever dream of what Stardew Valley could have been. Forget the typical questions like how many days until winter or will it rain tomorrow. Here the question is, should I use my roses on the scroll that rains nutritious compost from the sky and makes my enemies hemorrhage fertilizer, or marry a shredded water elemental named Water Chris? This is a roguelike bullet hell farming simulator where your job is to grow ultra GMO sentient vegetables, harvest them and sell them every morning to the desperate locals that themselves look more like their next meal. Are they going to eat them? Is it cannibalism? I don't care, because all is fair when you have to fund your personal crusade of violence in order to survive the nuclear winter. You see, Atomicrops is an alternative representation of our world that ended after the Great Hot Dog Debate of 2015. A debate so serious, it got a National Hot Dog and Sausage Council involved, and even the Supreme Court Justice felt the need to wade in. It was only a matter of time before it escalated into a thermonuclear exchange. By the way, a hot dog eats a sand. Fortunately, as the bombs fell, you were on the ground inspecting a creepy hatch on the farm your uncle left you. The bunker door was open though, so I don't know how the radiation didn't just rush in, but we're not here to answer hypothetical plot armor situations. The game opens with a tutorial which is pure deception. It calmly explains that water is wet and makes plants grow, like it's some tranquil farm sim in the 1920s Lithuania. It's cozy, pastoral, and charming. I mean, it kind of feels pretty nice if you think about it. But why are the pink bunnies watching up? Wait, what was that? Welcome to your new little home. Your real estate highlights are a ruined house to the north, dead bushes to the south, nothing to the east, and a giant butterfly ominously watching your every move to the west. If you're not a console peasant, you also have access to the phonograph. We'll talk about that later. For now, take the helicopter and embrace honest agriculture capitalism. Overwhelmed by all this space? Don't worry, even if you wanted to till all of it, you're restricted to a 3x3 plot for now. Breathe in that strong smell of ozone and smoke, feel the sun rays slowly imprint a warm, tingling radiation into your skin, and hear the rushing water from the endless fountain next to your plot. What more could you want? Well, to begin with, seeds. You've got a handful from the basket left here, but it's not enough to feed anyone. The tutorial told you to head left for more, but it isn't as easy as just walking over and finding the seeds laying around. As you know from many post-apocalyptic survival games, from the ashes of the civilized world, crime skyrockets. Atomicrops is no different. A new dominant species rose to power. Bandits. Basically rabbits who've unionized and now control every inch of soil through an elaborate network of camps. Some have hostages, others have loot, and all of them share the same profound allergic reaction to anyone who isn't them. In layman's terms, retaliate to any signs of hostility with extreme prejudice, using your trusty pea shooter. It's not great, but it's good enough for now, so proceed to murder the inhabitants of this region and turn them into 100% all-natural orbs of fertilizer. Just try not to get carried away. You're here after the camp with goodies, not to waste time flinging peas at the cockroaches. This simple task should keep you occupied for the whole day, which isn't that much because a nuclear blast created a localized kernel synclistic infidibulum that turns your average 12 hours of flight into 2 minutes. That also applies to what we're about to do once we reach the farm. So make haste and jump into that convenient wormhole that leads you straight back to your plantation. The starter plot is good for now, but soon you'll want more, so grab whatever pickaxes you found and break the crust. Remember to always shed all over your plants to make them cost more money. You'll know you've given them enough when your chlorophyll flashes in sheer excitement. The fertilizer is the most important resource you can have, and you'll get it
by any means necessary.
If you don't have enough, that's fine because you'll get visited every night by the bandits. They show up at the beginning of each wave of the night. They've come to harass you, followed by their insatiable counterparts, which are the slugs. They don't seem to be interested in us, only in our crops, so don't hesitate to feed them with some of your peas. When you'll inevitably run out of guests, you can start walking around your farm. Look for inconspicuous rocks, shopping carts, soda cans, and other rubbish left behind by whatever crackhead visited our farm. If you look for long enough, you might just find one of them resting in the soil. They don't stop spawning, and that's a good thing because each one provides 2 fertilizer and are easier to remove than your ever-expanding colony of weeds. Just make sure to not neglect them because otherwise they'll try to take over your farm, so when you have the time, start trimming them. Pulling the weeds takes time, but it only gets better the more you do it. There is a famous saying which is le petit vient mangeant. It was an expression very popular with the peasants during the 1693. While eating dirt. Every time you do farm work, you fill up your energize bar. Once it peaks, a frenzy of labor begins, making farm tasks much faster. But even with that, for a single farmer, this sounds like a lot of work. I mean, what did you expect? Unpaid interns to work for you? What is this, a functioning economy? But don't worry, you're not just a humble little farmer, you're also a rancher. During your last excursion, you likely came across a camp containing some livestock, like this one. If you're anything like me, your first thought was a juicy burger with some crusty bread and a tender grilled cow patty. But I'm here to disappoint you once again. Why would you eat our friends? I mean, I'm not getting sentimental over a walking roasted beef sandwich, but that's what we call them. Watering friend, weed eating friend, digging friend, crop boosting friend, or for those not that neurotic, cows, chickens, pigs, and bees. They're mostly just walking around, but in their moments of clarity, they do their jobs and allow you to free up some of your time. Doesn't mean they'll do all your work. Keep working that soil, sowing your seeds in a 2x2 plot, and fully fertilize them because you want them to merge into mega crops, which are better than regular plants. Otherwise, if you plant them haphazardly and provide them with only water, their nutritional value won't be much better than a piece of paper. Maybe you're one of those freaks that absorb the knowledge by consuming the cellulose fiber from the pages, but you won't get that much money from selling them. And speaking of which, you can hear the sound of a helicopter propeller ripping through the morning air. Whether you like it or not, you'll get taken to the town to stay as much as you want to do some business. First things first, choose your new weapon of mass destruction. While there are only 11 weapons available, 13 with DLC enabled, they're all pretty unique. A high caliber, long range instant hit scan 207 Winchester Par Sniper, a heavy duty 16 bullets per second Catley gun, an all reliable pocket sized rusty SMG, a fucking squirrel gun that shoots mini flying squirrels. What's next? A leech gun that sucks the fertilizer out of your foes? Well, actually, and these weapons can get much better than what they currently are. They're part of a bundle system, which means they come with additional weapon modifications and permanent stat increases. The higher a weapon rarities, the more it will have. Changing weapons every time you reach out isn't just encouraged, it's mandatory. Gun mods can make the difference that turns a bad weapon into one that is slightly less shit. I'm looking at you, Blunderbloom. On the other spectrum, some become very good. For example, the shotgun does high damage up close, but its slow reload time and low ammo capacity make it hard to use for crowd control. But if you only get the toxic spores upgrade, you can now handle hordes of enemies. I feel like I'm using the double barrel shotgun from Doom because I kill anything I hit with one shot. It's just as satisfying as seeing that wall of bonuses fill up one after another as the sound gets higher pitched and punchier. But no number of weapon mods can prepare you for what's coming next. I'm talking about getting married. On the right side, you've got 2 strangers. Depending on how the game feels, you might be presented with a charismatic man with a love for farming, a big titty goth girl, or a cockroach and a furry. These are spouses, and in order to get freaky, you need to first increase your relationship with them. Luckily, you don't have to spend money, they take roses instead. In total, you need 21 to marry someone, and your final reward is a ring that increases one of your 2 stats and lets them tag along with you during your run. Some are more passive than others, but for a truly far-maxed run, Borage is the best. But otherwise, I personally like Rue. For no particular reasons. Marriage is a one and done deal here. Divorce doesn't exist during these dystopian times, so pick your spouse wisely. But the other suitors are still good for something. Using their fragile emotions to extract loot, flirt with them, grab the items, and if it's not good, simply return the next day. Don't worry, these aren't exclusive items. You've already earned some of them from robbing those bandits its camps. They range from simple bonuses to game-changing upgrades, such as rewarding a player's OCD by giving you fertilizer for planting identical crops next to each other, the ability to duplicate said fertilizer by strategically placing scarecrows, or allowing you to partake in bigger orgies with more than one spouse. Every item, as simple as they might seem, has its uses, except for resilience. If you get that on the first day, restart immediately. I don't promote that playstyle, but this thing, it's so bad, it actively sabotages your run. You might think, what's wrong, you don't like free money? The problem is that the plants it creates spread slowly on the crust and usually can't be turned into mega crops. Now you've got a dozen of tiny plants sucking up fertilizer and water individually. Resources you should have spent on something more profitable. Just avoid it. Anyways, time to return to the farm and push your industrial agriculture agenda forward. You'll clear the rest of the desert, but eventually you'll run out of camps for seeds and find a small golden pupa. Pick it up and chase down that small winged insect until you get to meet a tree monster that after defeating it, you'll get rewarded with an item, and if it's resilience... Fuck off. But after that, what now? This can't be all for this whole game, you might say. And you're wrong, because that's what I just said. You can now go to the right, which is the smart choice. If you've decided to throw your life savings to build the bridges from above or below, the game won't stop you, but the residents certainly will. You've got more biomes to go through with their unique seeds, and at the end of each one, it's another bridge to its upgraded version. But are there differences between the seeds you find in these regions? Yeah, desert and tundra crops needs less water than those from plains and jungle, and also grow slower, but that's not a detail you'll care about. You'll plant whatever's available. However, each seed type contributes to its own evolution bar. Not all seeds can evolve, but to compensate, they are special in their own little ways, such as fruit trees that can be harvested as many times as you want as long as you have the space for them, and the heartbeats, which is your only way to heal yourself. And yes, all of these can be merged into mega crops. But what happens when a seed evolves? Fill the bar and now your prickly pears turn into just like how humans evolved from tadpoles, coffee evolved from its ancient ancestors, rice. But unlike the evolutionary path that resulted in a human whose most successful long-term relationship is based entirely on a strategic exploitation of digital woman, this one is a measurable improvement. You also get a free upgrade from Wormsy. Wormsy, it's a worm, if the name didn't give it away already, that holds a monopoly on all agriculture systems in this wasteland. He starts you with a choice between garden beds or propagators, each with their own upgrade path. This alone sparks a generational argument between two camps, which still continues to this day. Which one is better? They both work, but I lean towards beds more, which I will explain later, because you're not here for the technicalities of whatever your corn emporium should be built in squares or lines. What to expect from each biome? Deserts are pretty basic, while the plains are infested with voles and wasps that adopted a guerrilla warfare tactic, charging at you from off-screen. Some consider the jungle to be the hardest biome, which at some degree I can agree, but honestly the tundra might be the most awful out of all. You know how in the jungle being rushed by enemies is not a problem if you have a good gun? Well, you know what you cannot kill? Bullets. And the tundra loves to just fill your screen with that. And there is one specific enemy found in this very biome that has brought me misery every time I enter it. If the fox and the ice wizards represent psychological warfare, then the owl is straight up aggravated assault. From the looks of it, they just shoot in a little spiral before disappearing off screen only to return. What's the issue with that? They're unpredictable. Sometimes they just glide around like background noise, other times they torpedo towards you while vomiting spiral bullets that carve out a no-go zone. They'll even smack and stick to a wall and start zerking out just to get to your position. Now just picture this situation. You're dealing with a small group of enemies, which includes an ice mage. He circles you with his snowball ring as well as shooting a few of his own bullets. And then the bandit joins in. And then suddenly, from God knows where, several owls at once start to fire inside the arena. And at this point, you're fighting in a space about the same size of a penny. Break the orbiting snowballs for some breathing room. Good idea, except the foxes are filling the air outside of the arena with more bullets lined than I've been advised to not continue with that joke, but you might have noticed that our calendar is slightly shorter on days, 27 to be specific. So what happens at the end? Nothing good. Get some heartbeats if you're low on HP and grab a better weapon because dusk brings something unpleasant. At first there's nothing special happening during the day. That is until dusk arrives. A harmless dirt mound starts inching towards you. Doesn't seem like an issue because you can outrun. Psych, never mind, it will outpace you. This is one of the two bosses you'll encounter each season, each with their own little gimmicks. Some are very easy and some are the most insufferable bosses out there, and this is one of them. Oh, it's the giant enemy worm. I hate pattern consisting of squiggly lines of bullets, because I can't tell if they're going up or down. You know bosses like Emokanda or Mother that are doing that? Well, Atomicrops was like, how about a boss that itself, it's a squiggly projectile? Good luck trying to fight that thing if you fought, oh, there's a side that does very good damage, it's great against my usual enemies. How about you try that on a boss that speeds up when it takes enough damage? Oh, you silly Poots, just don't bring the side with fighting the worm. Wow, such a great idea. I'll keep that in mind even when I know that the boss I'm gonna fight tonight, it's a random between the two. I think I forgot to take my medication today. Let me just okay. Where was I? The gist of it is that you learned what you could fight and prepare accordingly. Not only for the boss at the very end of the day, but for the region you're planning to clear. You want to use the Gatling gun against Old MacDonald? Very well. But also, fuck you if you were planning to explore the plains. You only had a choice between the Jackrabbit and the Sriracha Soaker to take the fight with a giant bunny sitting on a cartoonish depiction of a moon that is connected to the air? Tough choice. But ultimately, it doesn't matter what you pick, because the only biome remaining is the jungle, and your weapon is not fast enough to kill the panthers. So now you get to be proficient at dodging them, the fly trap projectiles, and the charging beetles at the same time. Have fun. So basically, what all boils down to is that you bow down to the almighty planar god of guns, Caliber, and she'll bestow your hard work with the Spud rifle. You can never go wrong with it, especially when you get homing shots on it. But as annoying as it can be, there's one thing that I've learned from a very good friend of mine. Nothing beats a phallic looking object than your own ability to suck it all up until there's nothing left behind. With that taken care of, you'll return to the town and talk to the mayor, which starts the seasonal festival. Based on your yield, you'll get rewarded with more stuff such as upgrades, scrolls, stat boosts, and more. Scrolls are single cast items that do what they're advertised to do. If used correctly, they will save you a lot of resources and time. You can also spend your roses at one of the shops and buy a tractor from the Smitty Weber Jaggerman Jensen thingamajingy dancing guy, I don't know what they're called. These are your active items and they're pretty powerful, with some exceptions. The wood chipper is the best common tractor, if we put aside the elusive yet overpowered Megaton tractor. But you might ask, what are you going to use it on? It doesn't work on the trees. Oh, we're not using it on the trees. I would have put you in a meat grinder! This might raise some concerns for the more normal viewers. Is it immoral to drop a wood chipper on a group of sleeping bunnies? Is it wrong to watch as their bones crack, their muscles are torn to pieces, and everything gets reduced to a dozen fertilizer nuggets so I can feed my sentient horticulture spawns? Perhaps. But we're not normal. When you return to the helicopter, you'll advance to the next season. You'll have to go through the same process of exploration and farming 3 more times. Just enough time to pillage some special bandit camps and also meet a special someone that will offer you unique upgrades at a cost. But in reality, there's only 2 items worth picking here. Maybe 3, but that's stretching it. But after leaving the town during the winter festival, you'll notice something is wrong right away.
There was silence. No one knew.
We've gone through all the seasons, so does that mean that... Oh yeah, it is that time. This is Corpsacopia, the final boss of the game during the nuclear winter. He is an amalgamation of rotten fruits and vegetables that will plague your farmlands with decaying crops that explode in a massive area, sets your crops on fire with a single finger snap, and slap your face. His rotting body has become so resilient that any bullets just bounce off him, unimpressed by your lack of prowess and laughing at your futile attempts to stop him. What could you possibly do to stop such a force of I think I went overkill with 4 Mega Sunflowers. This boss takes damage from harvesting your own crops, and the more expensive they are, the more damage they deal. You might call it underwhelming because it takes no effort to kill him, and you'd be correct. If this was the whole game. After finishing the run, you'll return to your decrepit home and find some NPCs waiting after you've rescued them, the cat trader and the ant colonies. In exchange for their wares, they ask for some cornucopias, a currency which you already gained during your last run with no clear purpose. Until now. This is the meta progression of Atomicrops. The Ant FTs offers you increasingly pricey upgrades that not only gives you permanent stat boosts for future runs, but also slowly renovates your home. Maybe you want your tractors and scrolls to be better. Perhaps you want to upgrade your character's stats directly, unlock new mushrooms, make them more potent and common, or simply want the weapons you find to be better. All the ants are good, but I personally find myself investing in the historian ant first, because based on how far you got in your last run, you get rewarded on your next run with items, animals, fertilizer, seeds, and so on. Another way to boost your stats is with the cat trader. Give him cornucopias and he'll shed out a scruffy grey cat, but if you take 3 of them and rub them together, you get a new one, and so on and so forth. I like this one. It's so stupid and derpy looking. You start with a room for 15, but eventually you'll recreate the Owashima Island. They're decorative until you find their plushie during a run that attaches a perk to that respective cat, so that the more of the specific type you have, the better stat increase you'll have. You might think that a no-brainer would be to get bark skin, but the more quirky the cat is, the more it costs. The rainbow cat gives the best amount compared to the others, so to get 200 of them, that would require only 100,000 cornucopias for a whopping 6% boost. While that sounds very small, it can be very good for other stats such as homing pigeon or jumpstart, but the best stat you could ever invest into is luck. Does it kill things instantly? Does it boost critical chance? It just makes random good stuff happen more often, like rose seeds dropping from enemies or pigs shoving their head into the crust and breaking it. Okay, Poots, but how do I get this many cornucopias when I only get 20 for finishing the game once? That's not an issue, because every time you finish the game in the latest year available, you'll unlock another. In total, there are 10 years, which increases the difficulty of the game by having enemies attack faster and more, lowering your maximum health, enabling elite spot. That doesn't address how you get more cornucopias. You unlock the Dicey Casino by finishing Year 5, which allows you to gamble your excessive money for a chance to get a jackpot that may contain cornucopias. Daily runs are also worth mentioning because of the double cornucopias, but the chances of you getting a high year to play are random and you can do it only once a day. But the absolute best way to get a ton is by first finishing Year 4, which permanently unlocks Surplus Mode. Once unlocked, play on the highest year you can feasibly and consistently finish. Now, just like a mother feeding their offspring with her regurgitated propaganda, I'm going to feed you the secrets to breaking the economy, and without anyone's surprise, it's the gardening beds. With the right upgrades, they will provide infinite seeds, automatically merge your crops into mega crops, and drop fertilizer when doing that. This creates a perpetual motion machine of gold. Once you harvest, you can just stand on top of the bed, fertilize them, then instantly harvest and repeat. But I'm not gonna make it all easy. Year 10 is more high maintenance than knowing how to put a seed in the soil. Atomicrops looks like a puddle, but it's deep as a lake, and the game does an excellent job of not explaining itself. So what are other things that you should know? The more you explore, the more options you get, so if you find ways to extend the day, do it. That's why time is so good. And when else am I going to talk about the characters? Lavender and Rye are pretty straightforward, but Robusta looks like an achievement character when it actually has a pretty funny outcome of making the game feel easier. I can't explain the psychological impact it has, but playing at normal speed after trying Robusta feels slower than you'd perceive the game. And Dandelion is great if you want an alternative to self-flagellation. Early game, I grabbed 3 cows, 2 chickens, and as many pigs as the Geneva Convention allows. However, considering that this game has upgrades, you can deviate from the formula. There are turret upgrades that water nearby crops and speeds up the growth. You might be tempted to get as many turrets as you can and put them in the middle of the crops, but that's wasting potential. So instead, how about we build the Exodia? If you get the swine turret tumors, the pigs will be walking with a chunk of flesh that acts as a mobile sentry, and with the turret upgrades, it will gain the properties of a cow and bee combined. And why even stop there? Give the pigs the ability to make the soil moist, and very important, the upgrade to find truffles, which are worth a lot. And if that chunk of flesh isn't threatening enough, just simply weaponize it further. Give them turret upgrades so they deal more damage, have further reach, and increase knockback to keep the crop eaters away. However, you can't always be that lucky with getting the right upgrades. That's okay, because you can do that with cows instead, or have your bees do a lot of the farming, as well as turning weeds into flowers, which are worth a lot. The golden pupa destination spawns before you reach it, so open the map and check where it is. Once you unlock the time mushroom, pick one at dusk to lengthen that faster movement window so you can squeeze in more exploration. If you find one sunflower seed on the first day, you can safely explore the whole night and only return near the dawn to plant it. A fully fertilized sunflower gives gives 300 money, which is enough to buy any weapon offered. If you get an upgrade that drops items, don't take it before being evicted back to town. If you don't pick them fast enough, they will disappear when you come back. The same thing happens with things such as the golden pupa. If you completed a biome but you haven't seen it, that means it is spawned and you will be one item short for that run. And most importantly, experiment. Test the dumbest combinations you can think of and see what spectacular disasters you can unleash. Achieve a slingshot minigun that almost kills Soul Crusher's first phase during its cutscene. Perfect a carrot tractor build that fuels itself entirely on the fertilized bunny corpses. Or charge up a megaton tractor with so many additional charges that would make the veins of King Jong-un's forehead pop with pure unadulterated nuclear joy. And if it feels like the game is too easy, you can rub some more cats together and turn the tier 6 into tier 7 that allows you to enable cat shrines. This gives unique modifiers that mostly make the game harder, like the total removal of iframes. As you probably noticed, enemies shoot bullets in clusters or lines the higher you set the difficulty. Not that much of a problem because you get hit once and earn a few seconds of invulnerability. With no iframes, you eat the forbidden sausage and die in half a second as early as day 1. Do these shrines exist solely for those that crave to satisfy their masochistic tendencies? Yes. Well, no, I mean kinda. Beating year 10 with all shrines activated repairs the big sculpture that gives more permanent stat increases. Not that I recommend doing this because the stats are just as exciting as the tropiaries, but if you want to crank that luck stat over 100%, you have to beat year 10 with no iframes, enemies with 50% more health, more ambient enemy spawning, heartbeats only healing 1 health, and a boss that appears at the beginning of every night. It is as depressing as it sounds, but I say it's worth it just to see that fat cat rest next to the 200 cats you have on your small little farm. This game has roughly 5 DLCs, and I say roughly because I'm not sure if they should be instead classified as updates. There are 2 that are paid, but the free ones give you more content. For example, Reap What You Crow and Dearly Beloved can be summarized in 3 paragraphs each. The other 3 look like this. Yeah, a lot more content, which feels like it should be in the base game. It was probably done like that so you could turn on and off content you don't like. Could be the case. Weird design, but there's still other questionable gameplay decisions in this game. Why there's no scroll wheel to go for all your upgrades? Why can't you walk through some of the props? And most importantly, why there's no multiple save slots. I've partially finished this game several years ago and picked it up again completing it, and I wanted to see how the new player experience is. But in order to do that, I had to delete every file, turn off cloud save, and boot up the game. I kind of noticed that the game got easier with each update, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. It only means that the game is more accessible. Just like the shady guy from the back alleys giving me crap. But I was looking to experiment with an old system that it wasn't accessible. Not the old crop system, but the gun forge. I understand that the dev didn't like it and wanted to change it, which is fair, but why not have a setting to activate it? The photograph I mentioned at the beginning re-enables the old crop system, which is nice, but why not have it open a menu where you can tell what you want enabled or disabled, like the gun forge, or re-add the removed items. And to top all of that, the photograph didn't reach platforms outside of PC, so if you've got the game on the consoles, the game is finished content-wise, but it still feels like there should be more. I still have my very small hope that we could get a quality of life update or B-side skins for finishing year 10 with the respective characters, similar to Robusta. But a man can only inhale so much copium before he starts to look for alternatives. If you want to see how the game was before the introduction of auto-aim while farming, seeing the gun forge, and have no problem seeing moonwalking animals and whatever the fuck this is, open run and put this with Steam open. Then type download depot and paste this string of numbers. You can choose any of the manifest IDs before December 14. Delete all the files in your main Atomicrops folder and put the stuff you just downloaded inside of it. And I suggest you also put the save files you previously had in a separate folder. Start the game and enjoy the ancient jank as well as the old systems. Alternatively, you could wait for a mod to re-add the stuff that was just taken from us, but the modding scene is, well, they're definitely trying. Just don't expect anything more significant than item packs. But all things considered, Atomicrops is such an underrated and overlooked game that not many people know of. Even more surprising that it's on sale often, for less than the price of becoming someone's Discord kitten twink. Its addictive, high-speed gameplay kept me engaged every moment, keeping my brain constantly nourished. Right up until the moment my retinas failed, because sometimes it feels like swimming through a visual sludge of pure noise. Why didn't they code the fertilizer to merge or stack into bigger units to avoid this type of situation? I can see What the? Your guess is just as good as mine. And of course, everything was complemented by the music by Jonas Turner. He did an amazing job. My favorite track is Tranquil Moon. It's such a relief to see that face rising to the top of the screen, followed by the calm music, which allows you to take a moment and relax. Yes, cat, what is it? What? What? Cool, can you give me a sec? Right, we are so fucked. But even with that inconvenience, I enjoy this game a lot. And honestly, that's kind of the point, right? You don't need flawless conditions to enjoy something or to make something. I've been told that you can do whatever you want if you try hard enough, if you believe you can do it. And they're right. I am thankful that I can get a small community to enjoy this content I'm working on. And I truly appreciate that you stuck around until the very end of my fevered ramblings. So, if anyone doubts you, calling you crazy that it's impossible to blow up the moon, don't listen to them. It is possible. You just need to wonder how many nuclear warheads it takes, and the answer is 3. If you enjoy this type of content, be sure to do all the things that will please the YouTube overlords. And a huge thanks to my sandwich backers as well as all my daily benefactors on Patreon, the true supporters of quality and delicious content. Alright, now that I've taken a good old rest, it's time to return to our regular schedule and see how much property damage can I possibly achieve with just one funny little arcane piece of wood.
Good night, girl. I'll see you tomorrow.
Until next time.